And now to get some more analysis, we're joined in the studio by Su Xiaohui, Deputy Director of the Department of International and Strategic Studies at the China Institute of International Studies. Welcome to Asia Today, Ms. Su. So as tensions and rhetoric rise on in the South China Sea dispute, the international community, as we heard, is calling for a peaceful outcome. But China, as we know, has always been trying to pursue peaceful negotiations. But why has Manila ruled out any talks?
We need to make a little bit clarification on the positions of Manila. We have to see that in President Aquino's term, China has made several efforts to ask Philippines to talk to China, but failed to bring the country back to the negotiation table. And it is clear that President Aquino sought international arbitration, which caused a lot of problems between China and the Philippines, and also made the other countries very nervous lately. So international arbitration is a clear answer from Philippines that the President Aquino did not want to talk to China, and the country believed that international arbitration might be the right way to resolve the problem. But currently, we have some good news that the new president considered about the choice or the possibility of negotiation between the two countries. It is clear that the president has proposed several times to China that maybe bilateral talks is a way to resolve the problems. So there's a chance for the two countries to back to the negotiation table. Of course, we heard different voices, different signals. I noticed that some Western media said that Philippines has already turned down China's offer to the bilateral talks. But I believe that behind it, there's some country or some forces try to manipulate the situation and try to make China and Philippines feel more complicated or more difficult to return to the negotiation table.
Well, as you mentioned, there's still hope, a chance for negotiations in order for the two sides to work out their differences in maritime disputes. We know that every country has their own principles, and of course, countries need to be pragmatic and flexible when it comes to diplomacy. But does that rule also apply to sovereign claims, and what kind of compromise is needed here?
Well, I suppose that you're right. It applies to the sovereignty, but when it comes to sovereignty, it is very difficult and very complicated to talk about it. You know that China is a country that has a dozen of neighbors, and when China carried out negotiations with the neighbors years ago, it took a lot of efforts and a lot of time for China to settle the boundary with the neighboring countries. So for the disputes between China and the Philippines, I suppose the first thing is that the two countries need to talk about which things to talk first. Well, it is too early to talk about sovereignty since it is something related to national interest, national core interest. So it is unlikely that both countries can get a resolution in a short term. So currently, I believe that China would like to talk with Philippines about how the countries can manage the crisis, how they can talk to each other and find a way to reach out a resolution. So that is something that China is trying to work with Philippines. I don't believe that China is trying to forcing on a small country to try to accept China's efforts or China's appeals. It is not the right way to do things. So I heard that Philippines would like some negotiation on joint development or some less sensitive issues. That are very good starting points.
Right. Thank you very much, Ms. Su Xiaohui, for your insight on this.